And once again, Wargaming gifts us some new tanks for the SuperTest. And today we have just two, being a tier 9 German medium, the Erich Konzept I, and a tier 4 tank destroyer called the Type 1 youuuu 2. And without waiting too much longer, I will swiftly showcase you these tanks. And I'd say we would even quickly start with the youuuu. Why exactly? Look, I don't play low tier. I'm not interested in it. So I'd say you might most likely be the better expert than I am. So you can tell me if this thing is good or not. What I've just seen from the stats, it's very similar to the Hetzer. The thing is though, the Hetzer is most likely better because it has pretty good camouflage values, which it definitely does with 24 versus 18. It also has a little bit more armor, and that's about it. While the youuuu has a little bit better reload time, you can see 9.8 versus 9.5, has better aim time and better accuracy by only a little, and preferably, I guess, better mobility, but it's tough to say because the Hetzer is slow in reverse, but better in top speed, has worse HP per ton ratio than the youuuu. But again, I'm not the expert. Let me know what you think about this. Where I am though the expert, I'd say is in higher tiered vehicles. And here we have now this new Erich Konzept I, which isn't entirely new. You know why? It already has been introduced in Leicester. However, there it has a 750 alpha gun. It's still a tier 9 medium, it still doesn't have any armor. Yeah. Would it be more interesting with 750 alpha than with 400? Yeah, sure. But on the other hand, I'd say we don't really need any more high caliber guns which can be very fast and go around. Because please remember the last time we had a very speedy high alpha gun, it was the Guerrilla 15. And the Guerrilla 15, while frankly I loved it, go figure, it was really strong, got nerfed several times because again, it was very strong. And having that on tier 9 on a medium tank, which quite frankly easily can 2-hit or could 2-hit tier 7 vehicles, would be a little bit annoying. Enough about this history, let's move on to comparing it to the Leopard PTA. I did look at it with the Kunstpanzer and the Kampfpanzer, but the thing is the Kunstpanzer might be the tank to compare it to, but because of its funky mechanic and the loss in DPM, it's a little bit hard to do that. And the KPC 50T has a lot less alpha and is more of a brawler medium than the Erich Konzept. And that's why it is fairly close to Leopard PTA. And I also think it's the same deal again like we had with the Vickers Mark III as well as the Leopard 1, where one tank has a little bit of that, the other one has a little bit of that, but in the end, the gameplay is most likely fairly similar. And currently, just from those base stats, I'd say this is 100% going to be the case with the Erich Konzept I. It has a 120mm gun, giving it 400 alpha. It has APCR as standard rounds with a little bit less pen than on the Leopard PTA. And it has heat instead of APCR as premium rounds with equivalent pen. I'd say APCR might be better, especially with sniping and getting stuck in fences as well as in tracks and stuff. The main issue I personally have with Erich is the DPM is almost equivalent. Like we were talking 70 DPM difference for the Erich being a little bit worse. But the main benefit the Leopard has is its very juicy and very nice hash of 105mm of pen. The alpha, as you can see for HE, is also equivalent. 510 versus 515. Whatever, 5 deep damage, nothing. But the Erich only has 60mm of pen. And that is a big difference. Because, let's be honest, you can use the Leopard PTA's hash, and that's why it's also most likely a fan favorite of a lot of people, for one-shotting every single artillery piece in its tier range. It can also 2-hit most lights, and it can do it easily because it has good pen. And even 90, which doesn't move and gets hit twice by the hash, he is gonzo, dead. He should be nowhere to be seen. The Erich can't really do that, and that is very annoying. However, the Erich also has a little bit worse aim time, 0.2 seconds, However, it has a little bit better accuracy. Accuracy on a move is fairly hard to tell because we don't have the concrete stats for that yet. However, some of you might already have noticed, wait a second, I play War Thunder. That thing looks familiar. It is the term 3. And yes, you are correct. At least from the turret. The whole not. The main thing though is, in War Thunder, it has a 1 of 5mm gun. It also has a 30mm coax, which is very strong. It has a 5-second reload for its clip, or rather autoloader. And that doesn't exist in War Thunder, sadly. In theory, this tank would have a 3-plane stabilized gun. Usually we talk about 2-plane stabilizers, where you go into horizontal and vertical axes. But back in the days, where stabilizers started to get adapted into military vehicles, they were pretty poor and were not that good. You definitely couldn't put a beer mug on the gun and expect it to not spill anything at all, like they're doing right now with the Leopard 2A6 and 2A4 and whatever. So, some German engineers came to the conclusion, why not do a 3-plane stabilized turret? That is why this is such voluptuous round. Because not only can it stabilize in this direction and this, it can also stabilize in rolling motion, which was very important when you would be on an incline, because right there you would have needed a lot of math to have the 2-plane stabilized gun work perfectly. And again, back then computers were not that good of a thing. So this is why it is a very rolly turret. So if Wargaming decides to take this tank to its logical and realistic conclusion, it should have pretty decent gun accuracy on the move. Which should also make it a little bit more apart from the Leopard PTA, because the mobility, quite frankly, is almost identical. It has better HP per turn ratio and turns a little bit faster. That's it. Armor wise, it's almost equivalent. PTA has 50 hit points more. The one thing the Konzept has though, which is very interesting, it has 10 degrees of gun depression versus the Leopard PTA's 8. And it has only 12 degrees of gun elevation compared to the Leopard PTA's 20. And that's it. That is the Erich Konzept I. And, or Eins if you want to learn German. Looking at it again, not only do I believe both those vehicles will most likely be part of the Christmas loot box extravaganza. They both make sense. This is your average loot box filler, and this is one of those juicy tanks you like to get, like the Tiger Mouse back then. If the stats stay like this, I believe it will be totally fine. It might be a little bit on the strong side, but it's definitely not going to be anything overpowered like a 750 Alpha version or the BZ would be. The main thing is with the Erich Konzept, I do believe that most players will enjoy the Leopard PTA more. Why? The Leopard is in the end not only historical, it also is a little bit more easier to play. Why? 420 Alpha versus 400 and the hash. However, for other players which enjoy sniper tanks, the Erich Konzept I will definitely be a great substitute for the Leopard PTA, especially if it will be a premium. But I'd say I've rambled and yapped enough. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about these two tanks, especially about the Type 1, because I have no clue what I should say about this tank, and let me know what you think my interpretation of the Erich is. With that, thank you so much for watching, and if you're watching it on the 1st of August, I wish you a happy Swiss national holiday. Cheers, and I'll see you around.